Hello and welcome back to Tactic. After a week off, I needed it. You probably did too. The football season ended. My voice was a horse, and I went and watched things I'd been ignoring for, let's say, like 10 months or so. But hey, we're back, and that's a lot to catch up on. So let me tell you what happened in the 2 weeks while we weren't doing this, okay? Bayern won the DFB-Pokal, the German Cup final 3-0 over Stuttgart in Berlin. Kane hat-trick, of course. The first Pokal Bayern won in 6 years, which the German press has been calling the end of the drought. I just read the German one, the German headline. So the end of the drought, that's how we call it, and which I've been calling Bayern winning a trophy on schedule. Right, so no surprise there, to be honest. So domestic double for company, treble is off the table after Paris, but the consolation prize is quite real, I think. We also had PSG winning the Champions League the other night, after a 1-1 against Arsenal. And yeah, interesting game, right? More on this in a second, but PSG, as you know, won on penalties. Arsenal scored in the fifth or sixth minute by Harvard, which makes me happy. Then defended for like whatever 110 minutes, and PSG tried to ground them down, but it ended in a shootout. Not the best final ever, but PSG had, let me check, 72% possession and 19 shots to Arsenal's 5. So I think it's still fair to say that the best team won, just like Luis Enrique said. And they just, had to win it the hard or then in the end the lucky way. Bundesliga wise, Wolfsburg got relegated. They lost the playoffs to Paderborn 2-1. Big boo hoo. Wolfsburg, oh, sorry to everybody who's actually invested, but it's the Volkswagen factory team, so whose entire existence is a corporate handout. So I'm sending zero flowers. Heidenheim and St. Pauli already went down on the final match day. More sad for them, but that also means three new teams coming up next season, which are Schalke, who are back from I think a 3-year exile, Elversberg, whose town has, and I checked, 12,800 people in it, and whose coach compared the promotion to the moon landing. But this is actually real. And of course, Paderborn. In the NBA, and this is important, the Spurs beat OKC 4 games to 3, 7 games craziness. Wemby beat flopping, I mean SGA. Real basketball beat foul baiting, at least this round. Yeah, so Western Conference Finals went 7 games and ended this past Saturday, I think. Was it Saturday? Time's a construct, but the Spurs are winning, and we're happy. So Spurs versus the Knicks in the final starting in a few days as of recording. I'll get into all of this in a bit. We also have Germany playing a friendly against Finland yesterday. They won 4-0. Very quick coach's eye on what that means. Does it matter for the World Cup? Because 4-0 against a team that's not even at the World Cup is not really that much of data, I think. And in pro wrestling, because I'm into that. AAA had a mask versus mask match this past weekend in Monterrey, I believe, between Ludwig Kyle and no, I mean between the El Grande Americanos. A storyline that started as the dumbest gimmick of the last year, and it became one of the best wrestling storylines of this year. Gable got unmasked eventually, gave a heartfelt short speech, and people are calling it match of the year, and I would be one of those people. Also, we had Clash in Italy this past Sunday. Gunther versus Cody Rhodes was great. Cody won in a controversial finish, which is great for the storyline. Brock Lesnar is back from retirement again and winning. So we will have a quick word on the state of WWE in this episode as well. But hey, let's jump into this. I'm Sasha. You know it by now. 20 years coaching team sport. This is Tactic, the show where we watch sport the way a coach watches it. Let's go. So let's jump into the first segment, the the football recap. But a quick run through the season and football, okay? Because everyone's seen it, the results, and there's no point dwelling on what happened 2 weeks ago. So Bundesliga relegation playoff. Wolfsburg, Paderborn, 2 legs. First leg in Wolfsburg was 1-1, I believe. Second leg in Paderborn, the Volkswagen boys lost 2-1 after extra time. So Paderborn up, Wolfsburg down. So beating St. Pauli didn't do much for them. They are now eventually relegated. Three things to say about this, and then we move on. One, Wolfsburg fired two coaches this season. They won twice in the opening 11 matches. They got 8-1 at Bayern. I think it was in January. They squeaked into the playoff on goal difference because they happened to have a better than zero attack compared to St. Pauli. And they lost the playoff to a second Bundesliga team. None of this is a surprise. Now, too, Wolfsburg are a club that competed in the Champions League 4 years ago. They're a Volkswagen-funded operation that gets to bypass the 50+1 the way Leverkusen and Hoffenheim do. But none of that helped because the football operation has been bad for at least 2 years. So money apparently doesn't fit coaching and managing. Money helps a coach who knows what they're doing, but money just makes a bad operation expensive. 3, Paderborn are coming up. Elversberg are coming up. Schalke are coming up. 3 brand new teams in the Bundesliga next season. And Elversberg are based on a town of, I said in the intro, 12,800 people. So the lower half of the Bundesliga next season is going to be wild. And I'm all here for it. If you look at the DFB-Pokal final, the German Cup final, Bayern 3, Stuttgart 0 at Olympiastadion in Berlin. It's the 83rd, I think, Pokal Cup final, and the first half was actually competitive-ish. Stuttgart tried to, play with them, play with Bayern, be offensive enough. But the second half came, and Bayern, as Bayern does, just found another gear, or found Harry Kane, that is. Hat-trick for him again, his 5th, I think, of the season. Of course, Stuttgart with no chance then. This was, by the way, Bayern's first Cup Pokal win in 6 years, which is a sentence the German press keeps using as if Bayern was some kind of underdog. They're not. They're supposed to win it, okay? They are the record champion, the Rekordmeister is what we call it in German. They have now won the Cup, the Pokal, 21 times. The drought was a 5-year period where they had to settle for, 3 or 4 Bundesliga titles instead of also winning the Cup every single season. 6 years drought. Sure, I mean, whatever helps the headline, right? So domestic double for Company, combined with the Champions League semifinal. The late last year win at PSG. Pardon me. I think the 35th Meisterschale, German championship for Bayern. It's been quite a season. He's earned every word of praise that's coming his way from my point of view, even from those of us who don't like Bayern winning anything. And whether or not I'm one of those, you decide. Then we had the Champions League final. PSG won, Arsenal won, PSG won on penalties, right? Arsenal scoring in the 6 minutes, then defended like Atletico defense, except actually, well, sorry, Atleti. PSG had 72% possession. PSG had 19 shots, Arsenal had 5. Arsenal had 1 shot on target and it went in. They were trying to win the entire match by parking the bus for 110 minutes, basically. PSG equalized through Due, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I still think, it's obvious the best team won, right? PSG were the better side over the 2.5 hours, just they'd been the better side over 6 matches of knockout football. Like, Luis Enrique has now 2 Champions League finals in 2 seasons and 2 trophies. That's a coach in his prime. For Arsenal, a final loss. Again, they got there, they lost. We've been there. Arteta, of course, will be back. They've been slowly building, becoming better and better every year for, 5 years or so. And they'll be better again next year. But on that night, PSG was just too good and they deserved to win. But now, that's the recap. Let me skip ahead to yesterday, because Germany played a friendly, and a lot of you will have seen the score and gone, looks good. But hey, let me coach's eye it, okay? So, the coach's eye for this episode, what to watch for Germany at the World Cup. So what that friendly told us: Germany 4, Finland 0. Unterfürther brace, Wirtz, Musiala, awesome. 8 straight Germany win, sounds good. But here's the thing that we have to understand: Finland are not at the World Cup. So Germany just beat a team that, by definition, wasn't good enough to qualify. Yeah, Mongolia would also lose to Germany. Liechtenstein would also lose to Germany. The result tells you exactly nothing about whether this Germany side is ready for what's coming. So let me tell you what actually matters for Germany at this World Cup from a coach's eye, with a few weeks only left until kickoff and one more, pardon me, and one more friendly to play against the US in the United States. So what I'll be watching, okay? One, the goalkeeper situation, of course. Yeah, Neuer's back. Neuer's in the squad. Neuer didn't play yesterday because he's still injured. So the 40-year-old who hasn't been an international starter in 2 years pulled up with something after the DFB-Pokal final. Actually, he played in the Pokal Cup final wearing the captain's armband, so that's not the most recent injury now that he has, but the more recent one is what kept him out yesterday. Baumann played the friendly. Baumann is supposed to be the backup. So going into the tournament, we don't have clarity right now who is starting in the first match. And I hate when we say we have a goalkeeper problem, because we do not have a goalkeeper problem, but we have a problem that in that we don't know who's the starting goalie. And the start and the goal at the World Cup is one of the 3 or 4 most important decisions a national team coach has to make. And Nagelsmann doesn't have that decided yet. And that's something that is not super worrying from a playing, like, do I trust Baumann, do I trust Neuer? Yeah, they're both great goalkeepers. But you gotta make decisions and you gotta have your team ready, right? A second point that I'm really looking at is the spine. Yeah, a central spine, because that's important for a team. And for me, if I'm looking at what we have, it's like Jonathan Tah, Joshua Kimmich, Musiala, Wirtz, Havertz. That's top tier. It's the wide players and the strikers I want to watch. And like Sané, for example. Undorf scored a brace yesterday, but Finland's defense was, again, watching the match on TV. The question is whether Germany have consistent wide threat across 7 possible matches, right? Against Spain, against France, against England. You need the wide players to break the lines. If it's Musiala doing everything, the team is one ankle from going home. And that's very interesting. We do have crazy good players. But can everybody else also step up is the question. Yeah, that leads me to point number 3 I'm looking at, the depth in defense. Germany lost at the Euros at home in 2024, partly because the back line ran out of energy and partly because the bench wasn't trusted. This year, they have more depth. Yeah, Rüdiger, Schlotterbeck, Tah, and a few more. But in a tournament, you play 7 matches ideally in 25 days. The third center back is gonna play minutes. We do not yet know who Nagelsmann will be trusting in such a high-pressure match. And that's gonna get exposed at the World Cup. Yeah, we have our squad, but who's playing which positions for how long and so on, we don't know that yet. Pardon me one more time. You see, I came back sick, but I still wanted to get this episode out. The fourth thing I'll be looking at, and that's the last thing I mentioned, it's Nagelsmann himself. 2 years ago, his Euro campaign was like a good, not great, start, because they lost in the quarterfinal, right, to Spain in extra time, which is kind of loss that doesn't tell you much about your coach. So this is the second tournament. He's older, a bit calmer. He's shown the willingness to undo his own succession plan, which I respect. Yeah, I talked about this 3 episodes ago. As a coach, you gotta make decisions, and if you think you've been wrong, then you gotta walk it back. That's okay. The question is whether he's a tournament coach now. Some great club coaches are not great tournament coaches. They need a season to build a team, and tournaments don't give you a season. They give you 28 days. Nagelsmann's first tournament was decent. His second tournament starts in a few weeks, and then we'll see whether or not he's a real good tournament coach. But hey, so now I am struggling with whether or not I should go into my prediction right away. But hey, okay, let's do it. Okay, Germany are a top 8 team at this World Cup, for sure. They could win it if everything breaks right. The goalkeeper question gets answered, Musiala stays healthy, the spine holds. They could go out in the round of 16 if any of those breaks the wrong way. Most likely outcome, quarterfinal or maybe even semi-final exit to one of like the Spain, France, Argentina, England, not England, or maybe even Brazil if they're playing well. I'd put them at maybe, I don't know, 12% to win the whole thing. Honest number, right? Lower than the German press will tell you, higher than the British press will tell you. Opening match will be interesting. If Germany dominates there with 3-0 or something, the tournament narrative is Germany are back. If they grind out a 1-0 or something, the tournament narrative is going to be like, oh, Nagelsmann's project hasn't really translated. So I'll be watching with sealed teeth, just like everybody else. But now from football to basketball, and from we're not sure how this will go to actually a thing went right, which is nice to say. So NBA, the San Antonio Spurs saved basketball, at least for this round. OKC are out, and it's crazy how happy the basketball world is about that, right? The Spurs beat them 4-3 in the Western Conference Finals, 7 games. Game 7 in Oklahoma City. Spurs are in the NBA Finals. Let me say this clearly. This is the result the basketball-loving part of my brain has been hoping for since the first round. Here's what happened in this series. OKC, yeah, and the Spurs were trading wins, and then OKC went up, and in those winning games, SGA, as ever, was at the free throw line constantly. The series looked for a little bit like it was going to be the OKC coronation again that everybody has been forecasting. Then the Spurs went home and won a few games, and they won with a blowout. They won by, I think, I should have noted it down, but I think they won by like 21 points or something, right? So they figured out how to defend SJA. They figured out how to make the rest of OKC offense actually have to function. And Wemby at, what's he, 7'4" or something, can contest without bumping, right? SGA's foul bait game stopped working as well, and the Spurs took the series back, which was great. So what happened in those games, especially in game 7 when it mattered the most? Wemby outplayed SGA. He outplayed him in the series. He didn't need to draw fouls. He didn't need to manufacture contact. He played basketball, real, two-way system and skill basketball. And he beat the league MVP. And I want to be honest about what that means, okay? SGA is still, of course, an MVP level player. The OKC structure is still excellent. They were so close to the finals. But the Spurs broke the most efficient offense in basketball by playing real defense. And that's my coach's eye lesson. Foul baiting works against defenders who can't contest cleanly. Wemby can contest cleanly, so the foul bait economy hit its first real ceiling of the season in the conference finals in front of the league at home. If the Spurs win the championship, which I will go to in a second, basketball just told itself a story it needed to hear. So, NBA Finals, Spurs versus Knicks. Knicks swept the Cavs 4-0 in the East Finals. Oh, 4-0. I'm still in football mode. After Cleveland survived the game 7 against Detroit, the Knicks are very good. Yeah, Brunson is excellent. Cat is in form. They handle the Sixers and the Cavs with ease. But I think the Spurs win this series in 6. Wemby, of course, is the most decisive player in the matchup, sure. And the Knicks have been bouncing through the postseason, but they haven't had yet to play a team with both a generational individual and a serious system. The Spurs have both. Brunson is going to score a lot. Wemby is going to be Wemby. So the Spurs will win. Game one is, I think, is in San Antonio. Definitely will be watching. And for the record, I'm fine with the Knicks not winning anything. New York fans deserve a parade about once a generation, but the time isn't here yet. So may the best team win, which will be the Spurs. And now, one last transition from basketball to pro wrestling. So, if you don't like pro wrestling, that's where I say goodbye. But we have to talk about pro wrestling because we had the best storyline of the spring, the year, happening in Mexico this past weekend, and you might have missed it. So, we had Triple A, Noche de los Grandes. And Noche de los Grandes, we had the El Grande Americano story. So, I'll try I'll try my best to set this up cleanly for you, okay? So, because the story itself is really, really good and it really fits into the coach's eye that we're doing here, okay? It tells us how to take a stupid idea and build it into something really meaningful. So, here's the background. In mid 2025, WWE created a character called El Grande Americano, a masked lucha libre wrestler whose entire gimmick was a joke. An American wrestler putting on a lucha mask to mock Mexican wrestling culture. Lots of fans hated it, me too. The character was played by Chad Gable, an Olympic wrestler turned WWE veteran. In June 2025, Gable got injured, so WWE had a problem. They'd built up this character, but the actor wasn't available. So they did the wrestling thing. They kept the character, but changed who was under the mask. So Ludwig Kaiser, a German wrestler, took over as El Grande Americano. Pardon me, same mask, different person. Now, Kaiser, as the new El Grande Americano, did something interesting. He started taking that character seriously. He started actually engaging with lucha libre culture. He became a real lucha hero rather than a parody. The crowds in Mexico started cheering him on as one of their own. So by late 2025, El Grande Americano was no longer a joke. He was genuinely a fan favorite character. Then Chad Gable came back from injury, I think in January 2026 at the Royal Rumble. And WWE didn't have him reclaim the master. Instead, they introduced him as the original El Grande Americano, a heel bad guy version who hated his replacement and hated Mexican wrestling. So the two Americanos started feuding. 5 months of build-up. Pardon me. So Saturday night in Monterrey, I think it was, in Mexico, at AAA, which is the Mexican wrestling promotion that WWE recently purchased with, Kaiser and Gable had a mask versus mask match. Loser unmasks and reveals who they are. I think the match was like 30 plus minutes or so long, full of run-ins from Lucha Libre legends and callback spots from the entire feud. And in the end, it was amazing. They both were knocked, basically KO standing on their feet. It was amazing. Ludwig Kaiser, El Grande Americano, won, which means OG El Grande Americano had to be unmasked, and it was mind blown. Chad Gable. He gave a heartfelt speech. He originally put on the mask to mock Lucha Libre, but in the process, he genuinely learned about Mexican culture and Mexican wrestling and Mexican fans, and he could no longer overcome that spirit. He told Kaiser that Kaiser was now the only Americano, and then he showed his face to the crowd that, yeah, had spent 6 months hating him, and they applauded him, and the audience was chanting "Thank you, Gable," which is like a typical chant you might hear in American audiences rather than the Mexican audiences. People are calling it the match of the year. I would do too. This was amazing. And why this is a coach's eye story, right? Here's why I spent so much time on this. The El Grande Americano gimmick was a stupid idea when WWE introduced it. Genuinely dumb. The kind of thing that gets you eye rolls for a year. And then a series of decisions turned it into something amazing. Yeah, I'll try the 1, 2, 3 again. So one, when Kaiser took over the mask, somebody, and I don't know if it was Kaiser himself or Triple H or AAA, creative team or some combination, they decided to take the character seriously. Instead of doubling down on the joke, they committed to building a real lucha character out of a parody. That's a coaching call. You inherit a system that's not working and you decide to commit to making it work rather than scrapping it. 2. When Gable came back, they didn't undo the work. They could have done the easy thing and reset him as the real Americano. Instead, they made him the heel, the bad guy, the version who hated everything Kaiser's character had become. That's how you keep building when the variables change. You don't redo the work, you add to it. And 3, Saturday's resolution wasn't, and Gable was the bad guy all along, the end. It was a redemption arc. Gable acknowledging that his original cynicism was wrong, that the culture he tried to mock had genuinely affected him, and that his replacement was now the genuine article. That's not how cynical wrestling storylines usually end. Usually, the bad guy stays bad. WWE, AAA, let Gable have a real moment. And so the lesson here, and I think it's broadly applicable across coaching, business, life, is that a bad idea executed with enough commitment over enough time can become a good idea. The opposite of this is dumb, scrap it, isn't this is good. It's this is what we have. Let's build something out of it. Most coaches don't do that. They see something not working and they replace it. So the El Grande Americano story is what happens when you double down on commitment to a thing instead of bailing on it. Yeah, people are calling Saturday match of the year because they're emotionally responding to 30 minutes of wrestling. They should also be paying attention to the 18 months of work that made those 30 minutes really meaningful. And since we had wrestling, let's also check in on Clash in Italy, which just happened this past Sunday, so yesterday. Gunther versus Cody, Brock's back. So Cody Rhodes retained his title over Gunther. The match was great. Gunther was great. You might know that I'm a Gunther fan. The finish was a botched looking thing, but probably on purpose, where Cody hit a crossroads, the ref counted 3, Gunther had a foot under the rope that the ref missed, so it's controversial. So that's already a rematch teased, of course. Cody won, Gunther didn't lose clean, both protected. Coach's eye, this is competent booking, I think, not great booking, but it preserves the option for a third match between two guys who are both top tier, so makes sense. The bigger note here, Brock Lesnar beat Oberfemi. I'm a big Brock Lesnar fan as well. But Lesnar retired. He's 48 years old, and he just unretired a few weeks ago after he lost to Oberfemi at WrestleMania. Then he retired, then he unretired 1 or 2 weeks later, and now he got a win back. I have a very complicated feeling about this. Yeah, again, I'm a Brock Lesnar fan. I'm a Paul Heyman fan. But Brock's return and his win over the rising star is exactly the kind of decision that protects the WWE veteran at the expense of the next generation guy. We've been there. And after Oberfemi beat Brock clean at WrestleMania, we thought, oh, now they're putting it all on Oberfemi. We talked about this many times before, right? At WrestleMania. And we talked about it when Roman Reigns retained over Jacob for 2. It's a pattern. The new guys come up, get put in big matches, and then the old guys take the W. Roman Reigns over Fatu, same dynamic. Brock Lesnar over Femi, same dynamic. The face of the company is the guy who's been the face for 10 years, and they're really slow about handing it off. That's not unique to WWE. We talked about the same dynamic with Roman Reigns again, being the new John Cena, right? 3 episodes ago. The structure rewards the established performer because the established performer sells more merchandise. That's how it goes. Oberfemi could be the next decade of WWE if they let him be, and we will have to see if they will let him be. Or maybe it's going to be Danhausen because he sells the most t-shirts. So quick wrap, and then we wrap it up. PSG won the Champions League final on penalties. Bayern won the DFB-Pokal. Wolfsburg lost the playoffs to Paderborn and are relegated. So that's 3 new clubs coming up next season. Germany beat Finland 4-0 in a friendly that means nothing because Finland aren't even at the World Cup. The Spurs beat OKC in 7 and save basketball, at least temporarily. NBA finals start soon. Spurs versus Knicks. Spurs in 6. AAA had the best wrestling storyline of the year on Saturday in Monterrey, and Brock Lesnar is back, which we're going to keep an eye on next week. World Cup is just a few weeks away, so we will look into more Germany, of course, because that's what the podcast is about, but also at some of the potential opponents for Germany, of course. The NBA finals will be underway, and we'll start doing what this show is actually built for, a proper coach's eye look at the German team going into the tournament. Plus, whatever happens between now and then. Should be a good month, I think. If this was worth your time, subscribe. If it wasn't, also subscribe. The number helps either way, because that's what coaches do. If anything was wrong, tell me. If anything was unfair, tell me. That's how it gets better. If anything was you liked, tell me too. That's it. Tactic back next Monday. My voice is leaving. Thanks for listening. I'll see you soon.